What's up, 8th graders? So, in our last lesson, we made good decisions using the decision-making model. We also examined the effect our decisions have on our ability to reach our goals. In the game that you played, the Spend or Save, you identified influences that can affect your decisions. What were some of those influences that you guys came up with? Good. So there were a few, right? So we might have some peer pressure, fitting in, your goals, the media, popularity, and family influence, right? So considering what is influencing us is a critical part in the thinking step in the decision-making model. Our emotions influence our decisions too. Think of a time that you made a decision based on an emotional reaction. How did that turn out for you? Go ahead and take a second to think about that. So today we're going to learn more about our emotions and how to manage them. Who can tell me what it means to be emotionally self-aware? What do you guys think? Good. So it's our ability in any moment to recognize our feelings and manage them. So being self-aware helps us to take a step back, evaluate what we're feeling, and then respond appropriately. So go ahead and open your workbooks to page 7, section titled The Road Best Traveled. If you need to pause and pass out the workbooks now, you can. All right, so each scenario on this section is going to present a situation that could trigger an emotional response. For this first 3 scenarios, consider the emotions involved and write and select the healthy response for each. For the last scenario, write down a healthy response of your own. I'll give you guys about 5 minutes to do this, okay? right, so let's review your answers. Which response was the healthy choice in these scenarios? All of the B options, right? Good job. So what made them healthy choices? Good. So they were all balanced, right? So each B response took a balanced approach. The person acknowledged how they felt and managed the emotion in a healthy way. Let's take a closer look at the A responses. So you tell yourself it's fine, but really you're hurt and confused. Try to keep your feelings to yourself. It wasn't a big deal to anyone but you, so why talk about it? Hold in your frustration and pretend the loss doesn't bother you at all. What's unhealthy about the A responses? Good. So the A responses hold in their emotions and keep them hidden from others. All right, so why do you think some people internalize their emotions? Good. So they believe they have no one to share their thoughts or feelings with. They might be afraid to speak up. They might think no one cares about what they're feeling, right? What could happen if someone doesn't express their emotions or keeps them hidden from others? Good answers. So maybe that person feels isolated or alone. Their friends might feel rejected because that person doesn't trust them enough with his or her feelings, right? So let's take a closer look at the C responses. Start sharing your sob story with everyone. Take your bad mood out on your friends. Brag to anyone who will listen. Yell and throw your lacrosse stick on the ground. What's unhealthy about these responses? Right, so the C's responded by lashing out, sharing too much, or being aggressive, right? Why do you think some people exaggerate their emotions or overshare their emotions with everyone? Good. So maybe they need acceptance or recognition from others. Maybe it's to get attention. Maybe they are afraid others wouldn't notice them otherwise. Those are good answers. So what do you think happens when people dramatize or overshare their emotions? So maybe people will think that person's self-centered and tend to avoid them, right? So in scenario 4, you came up with your own healthy responses. Go ahead, and I'd like for you guys to share with each other, someone beside you, what your healthy response was. You got 30 seconds to do this, okay? All right, great job, guys. So holding emotions in and oversharing emotions prevent us from managing our emotions in a healthy way. We're going to identify healthy strategies to help each other manage their emotions. So look at the section in your workbook titled Work It Out. For this activity, you're going to discuss with a partner healthy management strategies for those who tend to hide or internalize their emotions. What could help them open up? What could help those that externalize their emotions manage them before they dramatize or overshare every emotion? Write down your answers in the space provided and be prepared to share with a partner. So guys, go ahead and fill out this activity and you can work with a partner while you do this, okay? So I'll give you guys 2 minutes to do this. right. So, which management strategies can those who tend to internalize their emotions use to open up? What did you guys come up with? Good. So maybe they can find a trusted friend to confide in, maybe write in a journal, speak to a trusted adult or counselor. Those are good options. So, which management strategies would help those who tend to exaggerate or overshare their emotions? Great. So maybe they can count to 10, take some deep breaths, find a trusted friend to confide in, write in a journal, make decisions beforehand of what information is appropriate to share and what's better kept to yourself. So some emotions can be uncomfortable, but suppressed or unrestrained emotions can negatively influence our actions. So we're going to observe how an emotional state affects behavior with a couple of boys named Charlie and James. So teachers, for this activity, you are going to need those scripts that I left for you guys, and I'm going to need 3 volunteers to play the parts of Charlie, James, and the narrator. So go ahead and pause right here and go ahead and pass out those scripts and pick those volunteers. Okay, guys, so is everyone ready? We have who's going to be Charlie, James, and the narrator, right? Good. So I want the class to pay attention to Charlie's emotions and how he decides to respond in this story. I'll give you guys a few minutes to go ahead and do this script. Okay, volunteers, thank you so much for helping me with this. You guys can go ahead and have a seat if you haven't already. So, the friendship is in trouble. What was Charlie's response to the news about his girlfriend and James? He was upset with James, right? And how did his emotions affect the way he interacted with James? Right, he was rude to James. How did Charlie manage his emotions? Right, he kind of didn't. He let his emotions manage him. So if we let our emotional responses make our decisions for us, we will likely do something that we regret. Charlie's reaction was based on an emotional response to information he received. Even if the information in the message was true, would he still be responsible for managing his emotions? What do you think? Yes, he would, right? So we are responsible for our actions and their consequences, no matter the situation. Understanding the thoughts and feelings behind our emotional responses make us more self-aware and better able to manage our emotions. Did Charlie consider all of the possible explanations for what he read before he got upset? He didn't, right? Did he jump to conclusions? Yeah, probably. Did he consider the effects his response would have had on his relationship with James? No, he didn't. At what point should Charlie have applied a strategy to manage his emotions? Right, so after he read the message, he could stop, think, and recognize his emotions to calm himself down before reacting. Look at the techniques to manage emotions that you identified on page 7. Which ones could Charlie have used in this case? Good, so maybe he could count to 10, take a deep breath, walk away from the situation, maybe even talk it through, right? So managing your emotions empowers you to manage your stress level and improve the quality of your friendships. It also helps you recognize the emotions of others. Did James do a good job at recognizing Charlie's emotions? Not really, right? So if James actually stopped to recognize Charlie's emotional state, he would have picked a better time to ask Charlie for a favor. And instead, he would have tried to figure out why Charlie was so angry. So if you ask someone, "How are you?" and in their response you notice their words are smiling, but their face is not, which do you believe? Probably their facial expression or body language, right? So a person's facial expression and body language are good indicators of their emotional state. Facial expressions are universal. What does this mean? Exactly. People all over the world make similar facial expressions for happy, sad, and other emotions. Let's practice recognizing your emotions through facial recognition. Turn to Face Your Feelings on page 8 in your workbook. In this activity, 6 faces are wearing different expressions. For each face, mimic the expression and write down what you feel. Some of these will seem obvious, but you might be surprised what you feel when you try them on. I'll give you guys 2 minutes to go ahead and do this activity. right, so what did you feel? Who can tell me the emotion behind the first expression? Exactly, surprise, right? What about number 2? What was that expression? Good, so it was angry, right? What about 3? That one's sad. Good. What about 4? This one's a little bit trickier if you didn't put the face on, right? Good, so that one's disgusted. What about number 5? Right, it's happy. What about number 6? Scared, right? So sometimes we are too busy or caught up in our own feelings that we forget to notice the facial expression of those around us. Facial expressions alert us to the emotions of others so we can act appropriately. Let's see how well you can decode other people's facial expressions. Look at the next section titled, "It's Written All Over Your Face." Read each scenario and identify the emotion expressed. Write down the emotion in the space provided. After taking the other person's feelings into account, apply your emotional intelligence to respond to the expression. I'll give you guys a couple minutes to get this one done, all right? All right, guys, so let's start with the first expression. What was your mom feeling when she gave you that face? Sad, right? She was probably pretty sad. How would you respond to her now that you understand how she's feeling? What were some of your guys' options? Good. Those are great. What about the second expression? What is your friend feeling when she gives you these face? Yeah, she seems pretty angry, right? How would you respond in this situation? Good. I mean, me personally, I'd probably come back another time to ask for the tennis racket, right? So now let's go ahead and move on, guys. So empathy. Empathy is the ability to identify and understand what other people are feeling. When we develop our ability to see through another person's eyes, we can relate on a deeper level. Often, we overlook a person's emotions because we're too busy thinking about our own needs, or we simply can't recognize the problem that they are dealing with. I'm going to read a story. You might not have been in this exact situation, but you have all probably felt these emotions. So, it's Tuesday at lunch in the cafeteria. It's pizza day, the best day. You're sitting with your friends talking about last night's TV show. Suddenly, you hear a huge crash. Your friend Roscoe just tripped and spilled his tray all over himself. Pizza sauce everywhere, milk is spilled, although no one is crying. In fact, everyone is laughing. They're laughing their heads off. You start to laugh too. You laugh because you're very happy that it's not you. But wait. You remember last year when you fell over a chair in the cafeteria and spilled your macaroni and cheese all over yourself. It was even in your hair. Yuck. You begin to remember how horrible that felt. Everyone was laughing at you. You even tried to laugh yourself, but it didn't work. You wanted to run out of there and hide for the rest of your life. All of a sudden, you stopped laughing at Roscoe. In your mind, you just traded places with him, and you know exactly how he's feeling. So, what do you feel for Roscoe in this situation? You might feel a couple things. What do you feel? Good. So you probably feel sad for Roscoe, embarrassed for Roscoe. You remember a similar situation in your own life, right? So if you don't identify with how Roscoe was feeling, what might you have continued to do? Right, you probably would have kept laughing. So empathy helps us to be a better friend. You can see past the joke and instead help your friend in need. So how would you put empathy into action for Roscoe? Yeah, good. So maybe you'd walk over and help him start cleaning up. Probably remind him of the fact that you know it's not funny because you've been there. Maybe you even explain to him that things like this happen to everyone at some point in their life, right? So when we talk about our feelings and share our emotions, we become more connected with each other. Each time we encountered someone in today's lesson, we were trying to understand what they were feeling. How did we do this? Right, so we talked, we asked questions, read their facial expression and body language. Good. So would you say that we were communicating with each other? Yes, right? What does it mean to communicate? Good. So it means to exchange or give information. In the next lesson, we'll explore using effective communication skills to build strong relationships. All right, guys. So I hope you learned a lot about identifying and managing your emotions today, and I can't wait to talk to you about effective communication next week. I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.